Good day to you, my fellow endoskeletons. I'm Kenetor and welcome back for another Starbase progress report. And if you're new here, I bring you the latest news and updates of everything Starbase every Monday. So make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss out. Now let's get to it. The live server got its first big update in a while, bringing both station expansion and blueprint shopping lists to the game. Both have been hugely requested. Lots more bug fixes as always, including now being able to expand stations in any way you please. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as to anyone who has now attempted to make a larger station will quickly find out. Planning these out is a nightmare without a designer mode. So much so it's reignited my yearning for the old station designer. However, another great thing of course, being a large update also means a lot more ships were added and updated, giving us a lot more ships to go and check out at Origin. And speaking of ships, I'd like to run a little ship design competition for you. No prizes, so no pressure, just to have a bit of fun. It's open to everyone, including the devs should they wish, and just one entry each. I want to see your best Halloween themed ship. The ship must be original and not a modification of an existing ship, and be all your own work. You can submit your ship via images on a brand new competition channel I'll open up on my Discord. The plane master himself, Cody, as well as mega ship maker Mr. France will be helping me pick 5 finalists who will be then asked for blueprints of their ship so we can test them out and see them up close to pick a final winner to crown as the spookiest shipbuilder of 2021. Submit your designs by the 28th of October, 12 PM UTC, with the winner announced on Halloween itself. So get cracking, be creative and have some fun. And with my announcement out of the way, the devs also had a few this week too, with first stages of siege testing starting on the PTU. Now this is not a full siege mode yet, this is just station destruction testing so far, but the devs can't do it without our help. In building new test stations, the bigger the better, as well as coming to help blow them the hell up. Keep an eye on the main Starbase Discord announcement channels for more info on this, but as I've said before, this is all happening on the PTU, where we have free resources and credits, so joining costs you nothing, and you help out the game a whole bunch. Diving into our Lowry quotes of the week, and first up we have some info on the radiation mechanics, after being asked if it will require a large device like the gate core, or something smaller, to which Lowry replies, it's not planned to be a massive device. But before radiation mechanics, there are the massive features and some core problems to fix first. So it looks like radiation mechanics have been outlined on paper, but are currently not directly being worked on by the devs, as they continue to work on the bigger features to bring us more direct content, which is good because it means they're not spreading themselves too thin across too many features. Just know the feature hasn't been forgotten about and is still planned. Next up we have Lowry admitting the research tree sucks, but does give some perspective on what he classes as a grind, which to him is something that takes months or years for relatively small progress. And in Lowry's defense, the only thing that holds you back in the tree is access to refills of the various tanks and fuel rods and station parts. Once you have these, everything else can be obtained via the ship designer and a small fee. And let's not forget, this is after all a persistent MMO world, one that is intended to or has to account for being played for a long time. Lowry chimes into a chat over dogfights, saying he guesses dogfights will eventually be a pretty minor part of the entire combat system, with people then asking about the new ball turrets, for which he replies they are aimed at gunships, but the meta will be capitals. The holy trinity of wars will be player stations, military capital ships, and siege. If we get someone to build a station and someone else wanting to destroy or capture that station, we'll get a siege. But of course most stations will need a reason for being, and this comes in the form of hotspots. And Lowry tells us that all future ores will be introduced in hotspots, starting with the first moon's craters only having this one ore everyone wants. And you can bet that ore is indeed Zalium, needed in higher tier weapons and components, as well as most likely capital ships as well. Not only this though, Lowry also says that station building will have a lot of incentives for owning large stations, which include but not limited to very large area ownership, which can be turned into a taxation zone, and passive ore gain via atmospheric pumps. But he imagines just owning a large chunk of space makes someone else want it. While I'm not sure that last point holds up that well, I know a lot of the larger companies out there have already made both friends and enemies, and people are already running attacks between various companies, and that alone will be enough to continue to scale up to attacking stations. People really don't need much of a reason to fight these days, they just will. Lowry also explains further that larger territory control is planned, and it's also a no build zone for others. So if you have some neighbour not willing to relocate, you can just siege that one into oblivion. And the territory control works more like a chain of stations as the current plan. Upkeep will be in the military you need to keep ownership and not in any passive upkeep, like credits or resource supply. Just a very expensive upkeep of being able to defend it with a fleet of fighters and gunships, for what could be a very long lasting fight. Back before Closed Alpha for Starbase saw the light of day, Larry used to talk about an insurance system that would be in place to replace lost ships. This plan, however, never came to be, but hope is not lost thanks to our next quote, where Larry says he personally thinks the repair hall and the free blueprint saving will be big things, as they also open up the possibility for the ship insurance services. For me, this really ties into the devs having a much better, bigger picture of the game than we do as players. While we focus on single features that we or our company want, the devs are looking at how these features weave together and fit in the grand scheme of things. And sometimes that does mean shelving features they want in the game until supporting elements can come into play. And I think that's exactly what's happened here. About a year ago, in fact, we got our first glimpse at both the new types of crates and the new sizes. And here's an image to refresh your memory. At the time, we knew these would be dependent on the new inventory system they were making, and that one type of these crates would carry parts, and one would be a universal crate that could carry everything, just not a lot of it. Well, our next quote reveals that the first new crate we will get will be a surface ore crate, followed later with general item crates. Now, this is very puzzling to me as to why the moon's surface ore would need different crates, but that's what we're getting. But more importantly, it tells us that Inventory 2.0 must nearly be ready, and if it's nearly ready, that might mean that other crate sizes will be ready too. Inventory 2.0 has been quite a delayed feature, but it also comes in parts, some of which we've been seeing slowly creep into the main build. For example, being able to see how much is left in container items like fuel rods. And for our last quote, we have another update on another delayed feature, company ships. Larry agrees it's been one super unfortunate feature, but now he thinks, once again, for I think the third time now, it's finally ready. And he says it will be in the next patch. So cross your fingers, take a pinch of salt, and let's hope we finally get this feature. Our gallery this week brings us a whole bunch of images, which is a splendid change, and we kick off with a couple of shots of some new holograms that are in the Moon City Tower elevators. Now, I always thought as an endo with jetpacks and the ability to run up walls, these were always just going to be vertical tunnels. But with these images showing that it's out of order, makes me think that we might actually get some actual elevators going in here, which would be very cool if only we knew what use renting a floor on these towers would be. Next up, we have a shot of a high resolution model of the tripod laser cannon. This model won't be used in game, but will be used to create a normal map, which will give the looks of a high detailed model on the lower poly in-game model. This model also gives the laser cannon a much more stylized look compared to both its handheld and ship mounted versions. Next up, we have another suit of endo armor. This one looks really slick and very Iron Man inspired. I of course immediately want this set, but I'd also like to point out the image on the right here of a paint job example to show you exactly what the devs are working towards for endo customization. Instead of buying fixed sets with fixed color schemes, we'll be able to pick and choose our own primary and secondary colors on a piece by piece basis, and of course mix and match different armor sets to create some very varied and unique looks for both personal and company use. This is a really nice feature to look forward to, as we have seen so many different sets over the last 2 years come through the progress reports. The ball turret returns this week, and we get a fresh revamped design iteration. The angled glass is gone in favour of our very first piece of curved glass in Starbase. And that's the Pandora's box opened of people asking for ship-based curved glass. Everything here is a bit more refined now the devs have had a bit more time to work with it, and I can't wait to see this completed. We get another look at the new large Exorium tank refill tool, now in-game in the dev branch. Nothing special here, but this will be an essential tool to run those new large generators. And speaking of large things, we also have a mounting point for what looks like a plasma thruster, but take a closer look and you will see it's not quite the same, and my money is on this being for the capital ship thrusters. Now, the tripod laser cannon isn't the only new tripod weapon being worked on. There is of course a railgun variant too, and what you see here is simply the ammo packs for them. Our last two images are of new chair and table assets. Those of you that play with the old lock system in Closed Alpha will know there used to be a whole interior design section to the editor we had, but these new items are looking much better than the simple ones we had back then. The station style benches are also getting a nicer redo too. I love seeing all these art assets being shown off once again. Please keep this up, Frozenbyte. You used to do this a lot and then shied away from it. But seeing progress like this makes me excited for when we can decorate our own stations and make them really feel like our home away from Origin. Now this week's progress report is yet again another complete rundown, so I'll stick to the completed and new items here once again. And we kick off with moon mining technology finally joining the ranks of finished parts, bringing us a little bit closer to a main release for the moon mining feature. Auction house shopping lists are done and now in game. This should make knowing what's used in a ship a lot easier, as well as buying these parts from the auction house. Improved station HUD. Now while this one is marked as done, it currently looks nothing like the nice looking mock-up we had been shown previously, which could mean two things. It's not actually finished, or we will get a visual update patched into the next patch. As right now, it's just hard to read text in the top left, with no other UI elements to it. Holograms for the insurance transfer terminals. I've seen a lot of you on Discord posting pictures of this, and these screens are now very hard to miss, with bright holograms around it. Not only this, they got a new stand and screen asset for these screens too. Elevator holograms, these were shown off in the gallery section and are for the towers in the Moon City. Operational landing platforms in the Moon City. The Moon City platforms haven't always played ball, with only one working correctly and ships not spawning above the pad. But no more, as these are all now working properly. Carry animations for the pickaxe. A complete round of polish was given to these animations as part of a larger ongoing polish effort to endo animation in the game. Material point scanner VFX. I'm sure many of you have noticed since the patch that the beam for the scanner is now brand new. While most pilots will only notice the colour change from their position from yellow to blue, this device now has an effect coming out of the tip of the scanner as well as glowing the surrounding area. Container mass detection. This improvement is more to the durability system than anything. While the crates did previously add their contents to the mass of the ship, thus slowing laden ships, it must not have been applying the mass directly through the crates themselves. So if you suddenly see that you have durability issues with your crates while carrying ore, this will be why. Warning pop-up for insurance transfer. This new pop-up will warn players that are about to leave their ship behind and let them know that if they are in the safe zone, they can tow the ship back to the station for a cost. The completed list continues now into a separate section purely for capital ships, which now has a lot finished. Although the progress report is slightly misleading here, this is not all the parts that are done, as there is still further work to capital ships being done, and they are definitely not finished yet. But autonomous devices are done, and we still have no idea what these are, but again my guess that this is more on having player-made contraptions work on the capital ship. Supply conduit and nexuses. This is the resource network that will run around your capital ship, and which should also be coming to stations at some point too. Capital ship easy build mode. With this done, we should now be able to at least start making our capital ships for testing on the PTU. Fast travel core and shield generators are also done, along with the large generators which have been in testing on the PTU already, but we have not yet seen either of the first two devices. The capital ship propellant tank is complete along with the thrusters too, and we have not yet seen either of these devices either. So here's hoping next week we get a lot of new images, finally revealing some of these new parts to us. That is of course if we don't get them in a PTU patch before then. Moving to new features now in progress, and we kick off with a pretty good quality of life improvement for crafting, in being able to change the materials of certain crafted parts. This will of course be limited to plates and beams and not changing your fuel rods to be made from the strongest material so they don't go boom. Tripod railgun. As mentioned earlier, this is being worked on. Now while the time shows 2 weeks spent so far, this has indeed been spread out over longer than that, which shows that this work may have been on or off for a while. Tripod laser, we saw this in the gallery section just earlier on. Casual mode for spaceship designer. This will be a new toggleable mode in the designer that will probably make it work a little bit like easy build mode. Personally, I don't know why the devs would waste a valuable time on such a thing. We already have easy build mode. Just make the modules available in the designer and call it a day. This shouldn't be anywhere close to high up the priority list. We have gotten hundreds of ships made perfectly fine in the designer, and this time could be better spent on quality of life improvements to the designer, like the much wanted mirror mode for example, or completely other areas of the game. And I've already seen pretty strong reactions just like mine from others on this part of the report too. Ships towing ships. Cargo lock beams and frames are unable to carry ships, and due to the way it adds the voxel volume and parts together with your ship that's carrying it, this can be pretty limiting, even if you could. So the devs are now working on a towing system, and this will probably be similar to a beefed up tractor beam in use. Stealing of spaceships, another much needed feature, since the only way to really get anything from a ship is to break it down should you steal one. Now if the owner isn't around or, dead, you can claim temporary ownership of the ship. This will most likely let you bring the ship into your own station zone and continue using it, as taking a ship without it being decommissioned will revert back to its original owner as soon as you enter a safe zone. Station and capital ship blueprints. This will be similar to the saving of a blueprint of a ship in use, mostly for repair purposes rather than something we can save in a designer. And lastly this week we have another brand new emote being animated for juggling, for when you finally get to put on that endo circus act you've been planning. Here's hoping it picks random objects from your inventory to juggle them. That would be really cool. Don't forget to come drop by my Discord or chip in support to the channel via donor box or YouTube memberships. All my monthly members are listed at the end of my videos and get access to the supporter channel on my Discord. As always, please do smash that like button, share this video with your friends at Faction, leave a comment with any questions you want answers to, and I'll see you in the next one. Kenetor, out.